how to reprogram your mind to attract unlimited riches and wealth. They told you that money was the root of all evil. They conditioned you to believe that wanting more was selfish, that dreaming big was unrealistic, and that riches were reserved for a select few, not for people like you. They never told you the truth, that wealth is not found in your bank account, but in your belief system, that abundance is not created by the grind alone, but by the frequency you vibrate at, that every fortune, every kingdom, every empire ever built began in the invisible realm, in thought. You've been living with a mind that was programmed by fear, programmed by limitation, programmed by people who settled and needed you to settle too so they could feel safe. But the mind is not concrete. It is software, and software can be rewritten. Today is not just another day. Today is a spiritual declaration of war, a war on poverty thing, on scarcity programming, on smallness. Because wealth, in its purest form, is the external manifestation of internal expansion. To attract unlimited riches, you must first break the chains around your own subconscious beliefs, the ones passed down through bloodlines that never broke the cycle, the ones enforced by teachers who never left the classroom of mediocrity, the ones whispered by a society that needs you compliant, broke, and numb. But you are different. You feel it, don't you? That stirring in your soul, that ache in your chest, that quiet voice that refuses to die, that voice is not naive. It is ancient. It is the voice that once whispered to Edison in the dark, "Shall others laughed." The voice that told Ford he could build a car for the masses when the world only knew horses. The same voice that guided Carnegie, that awakened Rockefeller, that visited Disney in a jail cell of self-doubt and handed him a vision bigger than logic could hold. That voice is speaking to you now. But first you must unlearn. You must unlearn the gospel of limitation, unlearn the rules written by the fearful, unlearn the lie that success is for someone else. Because your mind, your beautiful, powerful, programmable mind, is the soil, and your thoughts are the seeds. What you plant with emotion, repetition, and belief will grow. This is not mysticism. This is biology. This is physics. This is how every multimillionaire, every billionaire, every groundbreaker in history has done it, by mastering the laboratory between their ears. Your brain is the transmitter. Your emotions are the signal. Your beliefs are the compass. And wealth is the natural byproduct of tuning into the right frequency. So let me ask you, what are you broadcasting? What messages are you sending to the universe, to your subconscious, to the people around you? Because if you are broadcasting fear, you will attract reasons to be afraid. If you are broadcasting doubt, you will find evidence that you are not enough. If you are broadcasting lack, you will live in lack, no matter how much money passes through your hands. But if you just begin to reprogram the way you think, the way you speak, the way you feel when you imagine your future, you will shift the axis of your reality. See, the wealthy don't chase money. They attract it. And they attract it because they have taught their minds to expect it. They have trained themselves to believe that riches are their birthright. Not through arrogance, but through alignment. They understand that riches do not arrive because of hope. They arrive because of clarity, intensity, and unwavering belief. So now we talk about belief, the soil in which all wealth is grown. Belief is not just a thought, it is a command, a self-issued prophecy. It is what is called a burning desire backed by faith. And faith, my friend, is not blind. Faith is not soft. Faith is the strongest weapon in the arsenal of the rich. Faith is when all hell breaks loose around you and you still walk like you own the damn mountain. No empire has ever been built without belief. Andrew Carnegie believed he would become the wealthiest man in the world before he had a dollar to his name. Walt Disney was fired for lacking imagination, but belief made him immortal. Oprah Winfrey was told she didn't have the face for television, but belief made her a global force. What do you believe about you? Because until you believe in your power, your vision, your right to prosper, you will unconsciously sabotage every opportunity that knocks at your door. The enemy's not the economy. The enemy's not your past. The enemy's the programming that tells you that your value is capped, that your destiny is fixed, that your ceiling cannot be broken. But belief is the hammer. Belief shatters glass ceilings. Belief writes checks before there's money in the bank. Belief wakes up early, walks into the fire, and doesn't flinch because it knows what's coming. But belief without clarity is a storm without direction. You must define your riches. You must be specific. The universe, your subconscious, your mind, they do not respond to vague. They respond to vision. Clear, bold, electrified vision. What does your wealthy life look like? Can you feel it? Can you walk through it in your imagination? Can you touch the steering wheel of the car? Hear the ocean outside the villa. Smell the ink on the contracts. Feel the joy in giving freely, generously. This is not daydreaming. This is architecture. This is how the mind is reprogrammed. Through repetition, clarity, and vivid emotional imprinting. The people who live extraordinary lives are not lucky. They are deliberate. They write their future in detail. They hold it in their mind until the universe has no choice but to catch up. You must do the same. Because if you don't give your mind a clear destination, it will return to the past. It will pull from old files, poverty, lack, guilt, shame. And you will relive yesterday's struggle and tomorrow's opportunities. So sit in the stillness and ask, what does wealth mean to me? Not just the numbers, but the feeling, the lifestyle, the impact, the legacy, the version of yourself that is free, not just from bills, but from fear. Once you define it, you must feel it, not one day, not someday. Now you must feel rich before the world agrees with you. That is the secret. You must become the frequency of the thing you desire before it arrives. Because riches do not come to the needy, they come to the ready. And readiness is a mental state, not a financial one. Riches come to the mind that is already living in abundance, not the mind that is begging, waiting, or hoping for a miracle. You don't beg for sunlight. You simply walk into it. You don't plead for oxygen. You breathe it in. The same goes for wealth. You align and you receive. But alignment is not passive. It is work. It is discipline of thought. It is mastery over self-talk. It is vigilance over what you allow to enter your mental kingdom. You must become the gatekeeper. No more letting old stories rent space in your palace. No more hosting pity parties for your limitations. No more speaking poverty with your mouth while praying for abundance with your heart. Words are not just noise. They are code. They carry intention. They shape reality. When you say, I can't afford that, your subconscious nods and says, understood. You are not someone who has. When you say, I always struggle with money, your brain turns it into a script and runs it on repeat. But when you shift your language, even before you see the evidence, you begin the reprogramming. You speak as if. You walk as if. You decide as if you were already rich, not with arrogance, but with certainty. That's the key. Certainty. Not the certainty of ego, but the certainty of principle. You become certain that wealth is yours because you understand it is governed by law, not luck. You understand that thoughts are magnets, that emotion is the fuel, that repetition is the rewiring mechanism of the brain, that action, bold, unapologetic, aligned action, is the bridge from vision to manifestation. you must act. Because the mind is not only reprogrammed in stillness, it is reprogrammed in motion. You don't think your way to riches. You act your way into alignment. The vision must be married to movement, and movement must be married to purpose. Now let's talk about purpose, the hidden currency behind every fortune. Purpose is the engine. It is what transforms effort into momentum. It is what keeps the fire lit when the results haven't shown up yet. It's what gave men like Edison the will to fail 10,000 times and still rise like it was the first attempt. It's what made Carnegie build empires not just for steel, but for legacy. Purpose is why some scratch and claw for survival, while others rise like they were born for greatness, because they were. You don't attract riches for the sake of having them. You attract them because they are the tools of your purpose. And when you align your mission with your gifts, with your values, with your highest truth. The world makes room for your wealth. Purpose-backed wealth is unshakable because it's not just about money. It's about meaning, and meaning multiplies power. So what is your purpose? Not the one you think sounds good, not the one society sold you, but the one that haunts you when you're alone, the one that excites and terrifies you, the one that, if you followed it relentlessly, would elevate the lives of millions and make you rich in every possible way. Find it, name it, feed it, and then build your discipline around it. Discipline is how wealth becomes permanent. Without it, you become a one-hit wonder. With it, you become unstoppable. Discipline is not restriction. It is liberation from chaos. It is the structure that allows your brilliance to shine without distraction. Every wealthy mind has a fortress of discipline around it. They don't wake up and see how they feel. They wake up and command the day. They don't scroll through noise. They feed their minds like athletes feed their bodies, with precision and purpose. You must become a disciplined steward of your time, your thoughts, your habits, and your energy. That is how the rich stay rich and how the poor stay poor. Poor minds chase dopamine. Rich minds chase destiny. Every choice is a vote for the future you, a vote for wealth or poverty, a vote for power or passivity. So, vote with your habits. Vote with your morning rituals. Vote with your calendar. Vote with the people you allow into your mental space, because you become what you are most consistently exposed to. You must surround yourself with greatness, mentally, emotionally, energetically. And if you can't find that circle in the physical yet, build it in your imagination. Napoleon Hill spoke of the invisible counselors, an imagined table of advisors, including Lincoln, Edison, and Napoleon. He met with them each night in his mind, studied their traits, absorbed their character, and let their genius seep into his subconscious. That is the power of mental association. If you want to attract riches, begin associating with the rich, even if only in your imagination. Study their words, watch their movements, embody their psychology. Because what you immerse yourself in becomes you. This is not mimicry. This is mental conditioning. And conditioning is how your nervous system begins to expect more rather than shrink at the sight of wealth. But as you rise, you must also practice gratitude. Gratitude is the energetic glue that binds it all together. Without gratitude, riches become a prison. With gratitude, every dollar feels divine. Gratitude shifts your attention from what's missing to what's moving. It raises your frequency. It reorients your subconscious to seek expansion instead of lack. And most importantly, it ensures you never forget where the real power comes from, within. Be grateful for the vision, even if it hasn't arrived yet. Be grateful for the lessons, especially the hard ones. Be grateful for the contrast, because it taught you what you truly desire. Gratitude is not passivity. It's power. It's wealth consciousness in its purest form. Because a grateful mind is an open mind. And an open mind is a fertile field for the seeds of wealth to take root and multiply. So as you reprogram your mind, as you choose new beliefs, as you imagine your future and walk in alignment with it, anchor it all in the deep, humbling, electrifying force of thankfulness. Thankfulness that you are waking up, that you are breaking the chains. You are not here by accident. You did not stumble upon the Messiah. You were called to this moment, summoned by a higher version of yourself that refuses to die quietly. And now that version is waking up inside you, not as a whisper, but as a roar. Because there comes a time in every person's life when they must choose to remain asleep in the comfort of limitation, or to rise with trembling hands, maybe, but to rise nonetheless and claim the riches that were always waiting on the other side of belief. And if you are still here, still listening, still breathing in these words like oxygen, then you already made your choice. Now it's time to embrace the next trait of every wealthy mind, resilience. Because once you begin to reprogram your mind, once you start moving toward wealth with clarity and purpose, life will test you. Not because it wants you to fail, but because it wants to know if you're serious. Every setback, every delay, every obstacle is the world asking, are you ready for the next level? And your answer must be yes, even when the evidence says otherwise. Think of Abraham Lincoln. He lost elections. He lost children. He lost business after business. But he never lost faith. He was forged in the fires of adversity. And that's why his legacy still echoes centuries later. Or Thomas Edison, who failed by some counts over 10,000 times. But was it failure, or was it preparation? You see, the poor mind interprets resistance as rejection. The rich mind interprets resistance as refinement. It is not the lack of struggle that makes you rich. It is how you show up in the struggle. Every challenge is a sculptor, chiseling away your weakness, refining your clarity, tempering your resolve. Do not run from it. Stand in it. Face it with eyes wide open and declare, this is the price I pay for power, and I pay it gladly. Because the truth is, wealth is not for the fragile. It is for those who refuse to quit, who learn from every misstep, who rise smarter, harder, hungrier. That's the next step in reprogramming. Learning. Constant, obsessive, never-ending learning. You cannot afford to treat your mind like a storage unit. It must be a laboratory, alive, evolving, experimental. Read the biographies of the greats, study their thought processes, reverse engineer their decisions. Immerse yourself in wealth psychology until it feels like your native language. Because success leaves clues, but only those who train their eyes can see them. The poor mind says, I already know. The rich mind says, what else can I learn today that will expand me? Learning is the mental gym of the wealthy, and repetition is the personal trainer. You must repeat your affirmations. Repeat your visualizations. Repeat your actions. Not until you're tired of them, but until they're encoded into your identity. That's how the mind gets reprogrammed. Not through one moment of inspiration, but through daily deliberate immersion in wealth-conscious patterns of thought and behavior. Eventually, it becomes automatic. You stop fighting your old programming because it's not there anymore. You replaced it. You stop wondering if wealth will come because it's already arriving. You feel it. You see the signs. You are different. And because of that, your world begins to rearrange itself around your new inner state. And then something powerful happens. You begin to attract not just money, but opportunities, people, ideas. Doors swing open where once there were only walls. Connections click like a divine orchestration. And you know deep in your soul that it was never about luck. It was alignment. You aligned your thoughts, you aligned your actions, you aligned your emotions, your energy, your identity. And in that alignment, wealth flows. Not in trickles, but in waves. Not as a visitor, but as a resident. You're not chasing anymore. You're magnetizing. This is the ultimate state, the culmination of all the work. And it's here that you must protect your mind with even greater intensity, because success can make you complacent, and complacency is the silent killer of abundance. You must stay sharp, stay hungry, stay committed to the principles that brought you here, because wealth is not a destination. It is a dynamic state of being. And just like a flame, it must be fed. Fed with vision, fed with purpose, fed with action, fed with discipline, fed with gratitude, fed with the unwavering belief that you are a powerful co-creator of reality. This is how you reprogram your mind. Not in a weekend, not in a seminar, but in the furnace of daily choice. You do not dabble in this. You devote. You rise early. You speak powerfully. You walk purposefully. You think intentionally. You give generously. You move like you were born to build legacies, because you were. You were not born to struggle endlessly. You were not born to apologize for wanting more. You were not born to play small so others could feel comfortable. You were born to rise, to lead, to prosper, to inspire. Your wealth is not just for you. It is for the people watching you, the people who will follow your lead, the people who will break their own chains because they saw you do it first. This is a ripple effect, a revolution, and it begins in your mind. You must now decide. Will you return to the old programming, the small thinking, the fear, the excuses, or will you walk forward, eyes open, shoulders back, into the life that's already been waiting for you? Because the truth is, you were always wealthy. Long before the dollar showed up, long before the status, long before the applause. You were wealthy the moment you stopped borrowing your identity from the world and reclaimed your power from within. You were wealthy the moment you said, no more living on default, no more autopilot, no more average. You were wealthy the moment your thoughts shifted from scarcity to sufficiency, from desperation to direction, from hoping to knowing, knowing that the only thing standing between you and unlimited riches was you, not your past, not your parents, not the economy, you. And that's the most empowering truth you'll ever encounter. Because if you created the old program, you can write the new one. You can uninstall the beliefs that told you money is evil and replace them with the truth. Money is a mirror. It reflects who you are being. If you are being courageous, focused, faithful, driven, generous, money comes to you like a river drawn to gravity because it recognizes you. It recognizes itself in you. You are no longer waiting for the conditions to be perfect. You are no longer asking permission. You are no longer pretending to be smaller than your soul knows you are. You are now stepping into the rarest of mindsets, the 1% of the 1%, the wealth attractor mind. This is the mind that takes full responsibility, the mind that chooses wealth again and again, no matter what it looks like today. The mind that knows the vision will outlive the circumstances. The mind that has already received, even before the evidence appears. You will start to notice something strange, beautiful, and undeniable. Synchronicities. People showing up at the right moment. Ideas dropping into your mind like divine whispers, doors opening with no explanation, clients reaching out, mentors arriving, opportunities unfolding so fast it almost feels surreal. But it's not magic. It's alignment. It's the law returning to you what you have demanded with faith, backed by discipline, driven by purpose. You are no longer just working hard. You are working in harmony with universal principles. That's when wealth flows with velocity, because the river no longer meets resistance. You've cleared the debris of fear and self-doubt. You've broken the dam of procrastination. And now, the floodgates open. And as it flows, you expand. Not just in bank accounts, but in soul. Not just in possessions, but in perspective. You begin to see money for what it truly is: a tool, a magnifier, a force for good in the hands of the awakened. You begin to use your wealth to build, to bless, to create, to elevate,